Welcome to ENT student for NEET examination bits. Which of the following is not derived from the first pouch? Which of the following is not derived from the first pouch? So in this bit you are having from the first pouch, is asking from the first pharyngeal pouch. So you should have an idea about all these things to answer this bit. So what could be the probable answer? Not derived. It is a negative question. Not derived from the first pouch is telling. Is it auditory tube? Is it external auditory meatus? Is it tympanic cavity? Or is it mastoid antrum? The answer is yes. You have to tell the answer.
External acoustic meatus.
Why external acoustic meatus? So it is giving the question as not derived. So where is what is auditory tube? Auditory tube is nothing but your eustachian tube. External acoustic meatus is derived from first cleft, okay, not from pouch. Tympanic cavity, as you know, it is derived from tubotympanic recess, okay. Mastoid antrum also related to the same. So you should have a basic idea about CAP, which I already told you. C for cleft, A for arch, P for pouch. Cleft, arch and pouch. Cleft is all related to ectoderm, yes. Arch is related to mesoderm and pouch is related to endoderm. So external auditory meatus developed from first cleft. The answer is given over here. So that is EAC is related to cleft, not from the pouch. So auditory tube and then this tympanic cavity, mastoid antrum, these are all related to your, so this particular tubotympanic recess, which we are going to see in the next slide. You got the point. So if you take the understanding of these clefts, arches and pouches, so you have got the external auditory meatus here and middle ear and auditory tube here. So these are the derivatives which we are trying to explain here, okay. Cleft is outside, pouch is inside and arch is in the middle. You imagine like that. You remember a cap, cleft is outside, arch is in the middle and pouch is in the inside. So pharyngeal pouches if you take, so the middle ear and auditory tube, these are all going to form from, pouch is like it is going to invaginate like this and it is going to form something called as middle ear and auditory tube. So that is a derivative of first pharyngeal pouch. So first pharyngeal pouch is formed by this. Second pharyngeal pouch, what is it going to form? Supratonsillar fossa. So second pharyngeal pouch is going to form supratonsillar fossa. Third, so remember third pouch, okay, third pouch. Third, remember thymus. TH is third, TH is thymus, easy to remember. And parathyroid gland. Which parathyroid gland? IPT. Remember third pouch, it is formed by inferior parathyroid. Inferior parathyroid is formed by third pouch. And then fourth one, so superior parathyroid. Fourth pouch is forming superior parathyroid and also the ultimobrachial body. And also the ultimobrachial body which is going to form by the fourth pouch. Similarly, if you take the cleft, first cleft, external auditory canal is completely formed by first cleft, remember. So EAC is formed by first cleft. As you could see, even the 6 hillocks of his also forming the pinna. 6 hillocks of his forming the pinna, they are from the first cleft. So they are going to form like this and then going to invaginate like this. So the second, third and fourth are going to be in the neck. Okay, second, third and fourth clefts, that is ectodermal structures, are going to be in the neck. You remember here as neck. And when you take arches, arches are nothing but, so cleft is nothing but ectodermal structure, arch is nothing but mesodermal structure, pouch is nothing but endodermal structures. So first arch, what is it going to form? It is going to form mandibular arch. It is going to form mandibular arch, that is 5-3, that is ophthalmic maxillary mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve is going to supply this first arch. So mandibular division, as you know, many things like muscles of mastication, malleus, incus, spinomandibular ligament and Meckel's cartilage, all these form the first arch, formed from the first arch. All these are formed from the first arch. What is the cranial nerve of the first arch? It is the trigeminal nerve. Okay, trigeminal nerve, that is ophthalmic maxillary mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve. You can say that. So muscles of mastication, you try to go for mastication with the fifth cranial nerve, that is temporalis muscle. For example, medial pterygoid and lateral pterygoid and masseter muscles. What are the muscles of mastication? You have temporalis, medial pterygoid, lateral pterygoid and masseter. These are going to be forming the muscles of mastication, as you could see here. So this is all related. What is the artery of the first arch? It is the maxillary artery. Remember, mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve and maxillary artery. Maxillary artery is the arterial supply of this one. You can just remember like that. And once if you take the second arch, that is hyoid arch. Second arch, the name of the second arch is called as hyoid arch. So it is supplied by means of, so every arch has got its nerve, artery, muscles and skeletal derivatives. If you take the second arch is related to facial expression, muscles of facial expression. This is muscles of facial expression are seen in the second arch. So it is the hyoid and stapedial artery. So hyoidostapedial artery. Stapes is related to that hyoidostapedial artery, very important for PGs especially. And the muscles of facial expression are going to be formed from this. Muscles of facial expression are going to be formed from this. What are the facial expression? I told you facial nerve, muscles of facial expression. You can smile, laugh, cry, etc., etc. Muscles of facial expression like buccinator, okay, levator. So all this levator anguli oris, depressor anguli oris, okay, and other muscles like procerus and other muscles like orbicularis oris, orbicularis oculi. And all other muscles of facial expression are supplied by second arch. So you are smiling by second arch. So what are the structures of the skeleton from second arch? Number one, S for S, stapes. One more S for S is styloid process. One more S for S is stylohyoid ligament. And a smaller part of the hyoid cartilage. Smaller part of the hyoid cartilage. Many S are there. Second arch, you could see here. Okay. And third arch, if you take third arch, the artery supply is internal carotid artery. You can repeat this to remember. Okay, third arch artery supply is internal carotid artery. What is the muscle or nerve of this one? Third arch? Glossopharyngeal nerve. Loudly, glossopharyngeal nerve. What is the only one muscle that is by means of third arch? That is stylopharyngeus muscle. Internal carotid artery, glossopharyngeal nerve, stylopharyngeus muscle. Okay. And parts of the hyoid cartilage are related to that. Whatever is the smaller process, left out process are all formed by the third arch in the hyoid cartilage. What is the fourth arch? When you take fourth arch, what is the artery here? Given right subclavian artery, okay, and aorta. Right subclavian artery and aorta. What is the nerve supply? Vagus nerve. Okay. What are the muscles that are being supplied? The pharyngeal muscles and laryngeal muscles. Pharyngeal muscles and laryngeal muscles are being supplied by this particular superior laryngeal nerve and the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Superior laryngeal nerve is fourth arch and recurrent laryngeal nerve is sixth arch. Fifth arch degenerates. Sixth arch is by means of recurrent laryngeal nerve. You should remember that, recurrent laryngeal nerve. And all other laryngeal cartilages, okay, laryngeal cartilages, thyroid, okay, cricoid, all those cartilages are being by means of your fourth arch. You should remember all these things, okay. This is a glimpse of arches, like you have to understand these things. Next question, which of the following is a derivative of aortic capsule? So you have to keep in mind about the aortic capsule, OC, aortic capsule. Aortic capsule gives rise to something called as inner ear. Now can you tell the answer? So membranous labyrinth, perilymphatic labyrinth, bony labyrinth and ossicles. So ossicles are supplied by, you can remove this answer by, ossicles are supplied by what? Ossicles are supplied by means of, are developed by means of first and second arches, is it or not? First and second arches. So malleus and incus from first arch, stapes from second arch. You can tell the answer now. So membranous labyrinth, perilymphatic labyrinth, bony labyrinth. What is the answer here? Yes, probable answer. Don't know. We'll try to say that. So answer is C, that is bony labyrinth, as you should understand. So what is bony labyrinth? So bony labyrinth is the bony covering of the inner ear. Bony labyrinth is the bony covering of the inner ear. This is called as bony labyrinth. Bony labyrinth is bony covering of the inner ear. So inner ear is covered by bony labyrinth like this. For example, you should take, so one more thing like membranous labyrinth. So for example, this is the membranous labyrinth. So inner one will be the membranous labyrinth. Okay, membranous labyrinth. So this particular inner ear is actually membranous labyrinth only. Around it there will be a ossification called as bony labyrinth. So when you take this inner ear, it is divided into 3 compartments, as you know. So if you take the cochlea, so this is the scala media, is it or not? This is the scala media. This is scala vestibuli, scala media, and this is scala tympani. So this one is called as the membranous labyrinth. Actually the center one you can call it as the membranous labyrinth. Around it completely covered by means of your bony labyrinth. So how is the labyrinthine development you can understand here. So labyrinth can be understood. Labyrinth is nothing but a space that is there. It is called as aortic labyrinth, periaortic labyrinth. Okay, aortic labyrinth, periaortic labyrinth. Okay, you can just say the membranous labyrinth or endolymphatic labyrinth. The membranous labyrinth or endolymphatic labyrinth. So membranous labyrinth is the innermost thing which I told you, is it or not? So in this triangle, the innermost thing will be the membranous labyrinth. If it is there in the cochlea, it can be called as cochlear duct. Okay, cochlear duct. It consists of utricle, saccule, cochlea, semicircular ducts, and a endolymphatic duct and sac. So membranous labyrinth has got something called as endolymph. So if you take the innermost part of the ear, what is it called as? Innermost part of the ear is called as membranous labyrinth. Membranous labyrinth. So membranous labyrinth is the innermost part of the ear. Therefore, you can say that it is filled with something called as, you can just say it is filled with something, the blue color is not correct here. So you can put it something like with a green color. For example, it is filled with something like a endolymph. What is the lymph that is present inside innermost part called as? Innermost is called as endolymph. You have to repeat the answer, which for your purpose only I am telling. So innermost is called as endolymph. So even red also you are not able to see. So we will see yellow only. Okay. So what should you think here? Periaortic labyrinth or perilymphatic labyrinth or space. So innermost part is called as membranous labyrinth. It is filled with endolymph. Around this there is one more layer called as perilymph. Peri is surrounding, is it or not? Periaortic labyrinth. Previously was aortic labyrinth. This is periaortic labyrinth. Periaortic means around it, or it is also called as perilymphatic labyrinth or space. So imagine one earthworm has got water inside it. You imagine one earthworm has got water inside it. You are making a dress for the earthworm. For example, you are making a dress for the earthworm. It is outside, yes or no? If the earthworm wears a dress, it is so the space within the earthworm is called as endolymph. The space outside the earthworm you can call it as perilymph. Yes or no? The same thing we are taking it as like this. So once you take this, you understand. How do you understand this one? As simple as that. It surrounds the aortic labyrinth and it is filled with what? Perilymph. So what does it include? Vestibule, scala tympani, scala vestibuli, perilymphatic space of semicircular canal, and periaortic duct which surround the endolymphatic duct of the labyrinth. So once again, if you try to understand it over here, we will try to draw. For example, cochlea, we have taken a cross section. It is like this, yes or no? 3 types. Okay. So this is the stria vascularis, for example. This is the basilar membrane and this is the Reissner's membrane. You imagine like that. So this becomes the endolymph. So what is this part called as? Scala vestibuli. What is this part called as? Scala media. What is this part called as? Scala tympani. So when you take perilymph, this will become the perilymph and this will become the endolymph. So this is surrounded by perilymph here and perilymph here. Okay. So once you take the perilymph, what are the structures that are having perilymph? Scala vestibuli and scala tympani. That is why they have written it here as scala tympani, scala vestibuli, and this same space continues. This is the cochlea. So when this cochlea is continuing, it is continuing to vestibule, it is continuing to semicircular canals. Is it or not? So what are the three parts of the inner ear? Cochlea, vestibule and semicircular canals. So once you have a endolymphatic space in the cochlea, the same thing continues to the vestibule, the same thing continues to the semicircular canals. Is it or not? So when you have a perilymphatic space in the cochlea, the same thing continues into the vestibule, same thing continues to the semicircular canals. Now you got the point. I hope you are able to understand. So periodic labyrinth, it is having, this is the periodic labyrinth. So this space is filled by perilymph. Okay, this is filled by perilymph. Nothing much to confuse. So aortic capsule or bony labyrinth, whatever it is there, it ossifies from 14 centers of ossification. 14 centers of ossification. So aortic capsule, it is also called as bony labyrinth, ossifies from 14 centers of ossification. The first one appears in the region of cochlea at 16 weeks. So 14 centers, so first one is in the cochlea at 16 weeks and the last one appears in the posterolateral part of the posterior semicircular canal. So first one appears in the cochlea at 16 weeks and the last one appears at 20 weeks at the posterolateral part of the posterior semicircular canal. Okay, there are three semicircular canals, superior, lateral and posterior. Is it or not? These are posterior semicircular canals. Okay, posterior semicircular canals are going to be ossified at 20th week. Just remember, bitwise it is important, it is given in the textbook. Next, perilymph is produced by stria vascularis, capillaris of the spiral ligament, resinous membrane, none of this. So you should have an idea, basic idea to answer this question. So this is the cochlea, is it or not? We are taking the cross section like this. So this I told you as, this is the base, therefore it is called as basilar membrane. So this is the secreting epithelium called as stria vascularis. This is the resinous membrane. How do you remember this easily? RBS, random blood sugar. Okay. So resinous membrane, stria vascularis and basilar membrane. So what is the answer here? So resinous membrane, can it secrete, or capillaries of the spiral ligament? So there is a spiral ligament over here which is going like this, spiral ligament which is going here, which is going like this, and none of the above. The answer should be, so capillaries of the spiral ligament. We have already seen that this is the capillaries of the spiral ligament. So stria vascularis, it is producing, what is this space called as? Endolymphatic space or perilymphatic space? So this is endolymph or perilymph? This is endolymph. This is perilymph. So stria vascularis is secreting endolymph. Perilymph is produced by means of your spiral, this particular spiral ligament, capillaries of the spiral ligament. Capillaries of the spiral ligament. So now you got the same picture here. So this is the scala vestibulae, scala media, this is the scala tympani. This is the spiral ganglion, so which is going towards the cochlea. So what is spiral ganglion? Spiral ganglion is going towards the cochlea. So it is going to form cochlear nerve. Okay. Okay. Vestibular ganglion is called as Karp's ganglion. You should have idea. Vestibular ganglion is called as Karp's. This is spiral ganglion which is cochlea. Okay. So you should have idea about this one. So vestibule, media, tympani, as we have already noted. So this is perilymph, and this one is endolymph. You should have an idea. The center one is called as nothing but your cochlear duct. So cochlear duct is different, cochlear aqueduct is different. Cochlear duct is different, cochlear aqueduct is different. You should have an idea. This is the organ of Corte, helpful for hearing. Sound vibrations go like this and go towards the nerve. Okay, this is the scala vestibulae, scala media, scala tympani. So what should you have here? This is the stria vascularis. This is the stria vascularis. What is this one? This is basilar membrane. What is this one? This is the resinous membrane. Resinous membrane. The scala media, which I told you, okay, the scala media is filled with endolymph. Perilymph is present in scala vestibulae and scala tympani. We already seen this point. Okay, and then perilymph of scala vestibulae originates from plasma, while the perilymph of scala tympani originates from the both plasma and CSF. So what is he telling? Once again, differentiation here. So what is this? Vestibulae, media, tympani. So media is having spiral, this particular stria vascularis, it is producing like this. Whereas in vestibulae is perilymph or endolymph? Here peri, here also perilymph. So perilymph of scala vestibuli, this is originating from plasma. So plasma is giving rise to perilymph of vestibuli. While perilymph of scala tympani originates from both plasma and CSF. Both plasma and CSF. You can imagine like that. Why? Because when you straighten the tube like this, so this is scala vestibuli, this is scala media, this is scala tympani. So it is connecting to something called as cochlear aqueduct. Okay, connecting to cochlear aqueduct, which is connecting to CSF space. That is why perilymph of this one is produced by CSF also along with plasma. Okay, but perilymph of this one is produced by only this plasma, as we have seen. Next, endolymph that fills the scala media. Endolymph that fills the scala media is secreted by stria vascularis. We have already discussed. Endolymph that is filled by means of stria vascularis. So this is stria vascularis producing the endolymph. A highly vascular area in the outer wall of scala media. We have seen that. So this is the scala stria vascularis in the highly vascular area in the this particular scala media. Okay, got the point. Next, endolymph is something which is related to intracellular space. Okay, endolymph is like intracellular. It consists of rich in potassium. Potassium is rich in endolymph. High concentration of potassium and low sodium. Sodium is low. It is opposite to perilymph. So perilymph is having what? Perilymph is like extracellular fluid. Sodium concentration is high. Perilymph is like extracellular fluid. Sodium concentration is high. So perilymph is primarily formed by the vascular network, that is especially in the spiral ligament, the ligament which provides the support of basement membrane. I told you spiral ligament which provides, what is spiral ligament actually? This is a basement membrane, I told you, is it or not? So riceinous membrane, basilar membrane and stria vascularis. This spiral ligament, it provides attachment to the basilar membrane, therefore it forms the perilymph. Yes or no? We have already seen. So perilymph of scala vestibuli is formed by plasma. Perilymph of scala tympani is formed by both plasma and CSF. Next, pain of stylalgia is mediated through which nerve? 9th cranial nerve, 10th cranial nerve, 11th cranial nerve, 12th cranial nerve. Stylalgia, styloid process, you should get it in mind. Or Eagle's syndrome, you should call it as Eagle's syndrome. This is important for entrance. Okay. Eagle's syndrome is also important for entrance. Which cranial nerve is mediating this? 9th cranial nerve, 10th cranial nerve, 11th cranial nerve, 12th cranial nerve. Actually, if you take the tonsils like this, the bed of the tonsil is having, you can palpate the styloid process. Styloid process comes, if it is growing larger, it is going to impinge on the bed of the tonsil. So, what is the cranial nerve supplying the bed of the tonsil? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Guess the answer once. Nothing wrong even if you are wrong also. 9th cranial nerve. Correct answer. So, the answer is glossopharyngeal nerve. Glossopharyngeal nerve. Stylalgia, the pain is mediated by means of 9th cranial nerve. Stylalgia. You could see the elongated styloid process. This styloid process normally 2 to 3 centimeters. And if it is growing more and more like that, if it is more than 1 centimeter, it is regularly present, which should be larger than that. It should be called, it is reaching till the level of this hyoid bone. So what is this ligament that is formed? Stylohyoid ligament. Actually, it is not a process growth. The calcification of stylohyoid ligament can be called it as this particular stylalgia. Yes or no? You have to remove the styloid process excision by after doing the tonsillectomy. That is the surgery done. Unrecognized elongation of styloid process and a calcified stylohyoid ligament. I told you stylohyoid ligament calcification compresses the glossopharyngeal nerve, producing a neuralgic pain. Any nerve is produced, it produces neuralgic pain about swallowing, often radiating to the ear. This is called as, what is that called as?
Eagle syndrome.
Eagle syndrome or stylalgia. Everybody knows that. Good. Next, Trotman's triangle is bounded by all except. Trotman's triangle is bounded by all except sigmoid sinus, bony labyrinth, superior petrosal sinus, posterior margin of the external auditory canal. Sigmoid sinus. So Trotman's triangle. For example, from the ear, there are two types of abscess that can form in the brain, that is cerebral abscess and cerebellar abscess. Cerebellar abscess. This cerebellar abscess spreads from the ear through the Trotman's triangle. Trotman's triangle. You should remember blah 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 easily. Bony labyrinth anteriorly, sigmoid sinus posteriorly, and dura superiorly. These are the boundaries of this one. Okay, bony labyrinth anteriorly, sigmoid sinus posteriorly, and dura superiorly. So answer here would be yes. The answer here would be posterior margin of the external artery canal. Did I have any external artery meatus in the answer? No. So posterior margin of the external artery meatus is wrong. Sigmoid sinus is posterior boundary, bony labyrinth is anterior boundary, and superior petrosal sinus are dura superiorly. Okay, this is superior boundary. Let us see in the picture, you will understand. So while you are seeing it from the behind, once you are seeing it from the behind, this is the sigmoid sinus that you have. Sigmoid sinus, it forms the jugular bulb. Is it or not? Jugular bulb is going to form like this. This is sigmoid sinus is going to form like this, and this sigmoid sinus is joined by superior petrosal sinus like this. Is it or not? If this is the petrous temporal bone, for example, if you take the petrous temporal bone, you see from behind, it looks like this. This is the petrous apex. This is the left petrous temporal bone. This is the right petrous temporal bone. The one which is above called as superior petrosal sinus. The one which is below is called as inferior petrosal sinus. So superior petrosal sinus and inferior petrosal sinus. The superior petrosal sinus and inferior petrosal sinus, they join at the confluence of these sinuses. Okay. So what is this superior petrosal sinus? This is above the, this is the petrous temporal bone. Okay, same greater than less than I am drawing. So this is the superior petrosal sinus, and this is the solid angle. What is solid angle? So lateral semicircular canal, superior semicircular canal, posterior semicircular canal. The angle between this is called as solid angle. So Trotman's triangle is formed by bony labyrinth. The labyrinth is in front. So labyrinth is in front. So anteriorly solid angle, that is labyrinth related, semicircular canal related angle. So anteriorly bony labyrinth. Okay, sigmoid sinus is posterior. This is a posterior boundary. Okay, this is a sigmoid sinus posteriorly. Sigmoid sinus is posteriorly, and dura superior. Dura or superior petrosal sinus. This is a superior petrosal sinus superiorly. This is a dura or superior petrosal sinus. How does the infection? I told you posterior cranial fossa. What is there in the posterior cranial fossa? Is it cerebrum or cerebellum? Cerebellum. So posterior cranial fossa, the infection goes to posterior cranial fossa, that is towards the cerebellum through this Trotman's triangle. When ear has to go, the infection, mastoid infection has to go to posterior cranial fossa, it will go through the Trotman's triangle. What are the boundaries? Once again, bony labyrinth anteriorly, sigmoid sinus posteriorly, and dura or superior petrosal sinus superiorly. Okay, dura or superior petrosal sinus superiorly. You should all remember this one. Okay, very important. Next question. Costens syndrome refers to neuralgic pain because of spinopalatine ganglion, temporomandibular joint, glossopharyngeal nerve, and lingual nerve. Costens syndrome is nothing but, answer is, you can see that picture. The answer is temporomandibular joint. Costens syndrome, you can call it as temporomandibular joint syndrome, wherein you have got prolonged overclosure. When your mouth is closed tightly, you have got deafness, you have got tinnitus, you have tenderness over the temporomandibular joint, you have dryness of mouth, and neuralgic symptoms in the burning of the throat and headache, including burning of the throat and headache. So you have got the radiation of the pain from this. For example, if you take, this is the external artery canal, pinna, external artery canal, this is the tragus. Here you will be having the temporomandibular joint, is it or not? From here it radiates towards that side. So the pain because of this part is supplied by what? Auriculotemporal nerve. The same one will be radiating towards the ear also. They think that patient will come with ear pain, but the pain is because of Costens syndrome. How would you ask the patient to open and close the mouth recurrently? You will understand whether it is related to the temporomandibular joint or external artery canal. This is a question on referred pain in ear. So this is Costens syndrome. Okay, thank you very much for watching ENT student for ENT need based bits.